Hello, can you see me and hear me?
Yes.
We can.
I'm so excited to be here.
Me too.
We're so excited
First
to
of
have
all,
you here.
I want to thank you for the opportunity for you to be able to give us your time and talk to us. My friend Clara here, she has a good relationship with you on Instagram. So
Thank you for thinking of me. I'm so honored to be here for sure.
we just finished your third book last night.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay, you're
we have
hurting.
it.
You're in
Yes,
pain.
yes.
Yeah.
And Clara and I, we were rushing through the third one because I was like, I'm not gonna read the third one now because we don't know when the fourth one comes.
Yeah.
And I know how you are about endings.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, no, I have to read it. I'm devastated.
I don't know what you're talking about. Heat's ending is like so calm and chill and
Oh, nothing happened.
is it bad?
I felt like I was falling off a cliff and I was like tumbling.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, now it's going to be okay. And then no, it's not going to be okay anymore. And then, everything is going to work out. No, it's not.
Surprise.
Surprise. We hope Burn will fix everything.
Well,
We'll see.
what does that mean?
We'll see.
No, I don't know. I don't know what to think now. It's the last book, right? The fourth one. It's the last
It is.
one.
Yes, it is the last final book in the series. No cliffhangers, I promise.
Oh, thank God. I was going to ask about that, but well, I wanted to start asking you, what was your writing journey? Is the Kindred Saga the first saga you've ever published, or do you have other books that you've published before?
These are my first books I've ever published. So I've been writing my whole life. My university degree is in creative writing, and it's something I've been doing since I was very, very young. So I have just hard drives and notebooks full of stories that I wrote, and I just never shared them with the world. I was very insecure and thought they're not good enough and nobody really would be interested. And so I don't know why, but just something in me was holding me back from ever trying to publish. But it was always something I wanted to do. You know, it wasn't a dream I'd given up on. It just felt like something I'll try next year. And then the pandemic happened. So I'm from the United States. I moved to France during the pandemic. Don't recommend. And I had to leave my job as an attorney in the process of moving abroad. And I couldn't get a job because it was a pandemic and no one was hiring. So I was just sitting at home. We were on lockdown. I couldn't leave my apartment. I didn't have a job and I didn't really have anything to do. So I thought, well, you know, maybe this is the time. And my very sweet husband said, it seems like the universe is giving you an opportunity to do this thing that you've always wanted to do. So with his support, I said, okay, if I'm going to publish something, what do I want to publish? I knew I wanted to write a romantasy because that's the genre of my heart. It's my favorite books to read, and I've been reading them for 20 years.
We all relate.
Yeah. And so I knew I wanted to write a romantasy, and a lot of the things that were going on in the world were kind of weighing heavy on my heart with just a lot of injustice and oppression and, people fighting for their rights and for freedom. And I said, I want to tell a story that really touches on these important issues and hopefully makes people think about them. That's sort of, no pun intended, the spark that the story grew from. And so I wrote the first 3 books, actually, all in the span of about a single year, and between like 21 and 22. And then I edited all of them for another year, and I put them through beta readers and editors and all of that. And then I self-published them beginning in June of 2023. So they were all originally self-published, and then they got picked up by different publishers over the course of 2024. And so then we've been re-releasing them in English as well as 18 other languages. And so that's where we are now.
It's very surprising to learn that your first series was this series.
That's crazy.
Because the way you've built your story and your world, your characters, your magic system, it is like you're a genius because your first work is amazing.
I had a lot of practice. I mean, I have been writing stories for so long, and I have 2 degrees in, writing and literature, and I've studied all of the mechanics of good storytelling and character building. So it's not like I just kind of said, I'm going to write a book one day and sat down and, wrote
It's
a book
perfect.
that did well. Yeah. There's a lot of bad drafts that no one will ever see in my background. This was the first one I was brave enough to put out there.
To read the third book, I felt like it was a different experience from reading the first two. And I felt like even though you had a lot of like endings to like a lot of ties to make, it didn't, I didn't see a plot hole. I didn't see like a hole in the story. It felt like everything was so like, you just interwoven it so well at the ending. I see that you have a lot that you have.
Yeah, there's still more. Well,
there's a lot. But
yeah, Spark and Glow were kind of the question books where you learn about a lot of these mysteries and what we don't know, or at least what DM doesn't know. And Heat is where we get a lot of the answers. And so we not everything, but for the most part, we get the answer to a lot of the mysteries that have been floating around her whole life. And I would say Burn is more of the fallout book of the consequences of getting those answers and what that means for everyone. So it was fun to write Heat because I was finally getting to reveal a lot of things about a lot of people. But of course, with answers comes more questions. So
I feel like we had more world building on Heat. We got to learn about the other realms, and that was an amazing journey. I felt like that was amazing. We read your first book at the book club, Spark of the Ever Flame, because that's the only one that's in Portuguese now. I read the other two because I got the English version. But the first book, when we finished, I think that was the book that brought the most comments from us during our monthly meetings because we had theories. We had like pages of theories when we wanted to talk about it. And I feel like almost all of the theories that we spoke about, we got to see where it led in Heat. But we still have questions.
Yeah.
For Bert.
Yeah. There's a few critical pieces that you don't yet know that unlock kind of everything. So I would say you have probably 90% of the answers, maybe more, but there's a few really big reveals that are coming that will make everything make a lot more sense. In particular, I would say with the kindred and the old gods, we really don't know much about them yet. And they obviously have had their fingers in a lot of things that have been going on. And so I think in Burn, you'll get a lot of answers about the role that they play in this world and in, how all of these people got here and what happens to them next.
Yeah, I feel like I would love to see more of the gods and the kindreds. Because, we did get to see them, but not that much, just tiny bits.
You get little glimpses of them, and you get enough to know that they're kind of trying to puppet master everything and trying to control. And obviously, DM in particular is really pushing against that. She doesn't like the idea of fate and something that's predetermined. And so there's kind of this conflict of, will the gods sort of move everyone like chess pieces to accomplish what they want, or will the people choose their own path? And I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out.
I wanted to ask you if you have this contact with your Brazilian fans. I know that this is something new. Now the series has come out in Brazil. I don't know, through the comments, through DM. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
A little bit, a little tiny bit of it, because, it's just starting to release. And so I'm starting to get more comments and more messages, which I love. And actually, I just finished my tour in the UK. So I was in the UK for about 2 weeks on tour there. And a ton of Brazilians were there at the UK tour. And a lot of them didn't actually know that the book was out in Brazilian Portuguese. So that was really exciting to say, actually, you need to go buy this version instead. And so I'm really excited for it to grow, especially as you mentioned, more of the books coming out and people getting to see more of the story. As I've heard, the Brazilian fans are legendary in any industry, in anything. They have a reputation of being very passionate and loyal and supportive. So I'm really excited about that.
We were reading the last chapters on online like together
Mhm.
because we were like, okay, we need emotional support. And in this group, I think 40 people have read Heat because
Okay.
everybody read Spark, and
Right.
whoever reads in English, they got to read the rest. And they were like, okay, something is coming. You're going to need somebody to hold your hand. And we were like, okay, I have to read together. And then it was just like it was an amazing experience. And I feel like the love for the series, it will get more of that once the second one comes out. I think the second one comes out. Do you know, Clara?
Soon, I think.
This semester. The first one came out in April. And during Bienal, which is a book event that we have in Brazil every year, every 2 years? Yes. Once in São Paulo and once in Rio. It's the biggest, right? The biggest book event.
It is. I'd say it's the biggest. Yeah.
And
the structure is
your
amazing.
publisher here, they announced that it would come out this semester. So
yay!
We don't have a date yet. But come.
I'm sure it's in my records. At this point now, there's 3 books, each of them in 18 languages. So it's every week I have a new release. So it's really exciting, but I never know when anything's coming out.
Yes, and you've been posting the editions throughout the world, and they're so beautiful.
Yeah.
Those last ones you posted, I was like, oh my God,
I know. Those are gorgeous. And I don't want to say too much, but I just saw the art for the next 2 books that they're doing. And they don't even know because I didn't tell the company. I just gave them a list of scenes and I didn't give them context for what the scenes are. And the one that they chose is probably the most I don't want to say, but it's the most iconic scene, I think, from book 4, and they don't even know it yet. So I'm really excited for people to, number one, read the last book and then see that art and just be like, ugh.
I actually read the first 3 chapters of Burn, and because I didn't know that it was on your website, and one of the girls said, there is, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta read it now. And I was, oh my God.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna make you feel any better.
I haven't read it.
Broke even more because I was hoping to hear from Dean and I didn't, and then I was like, I had no words.
I'm not even gonna go there. I'm not doing it.
I had to. I was already down there. I was just digging deeper.
Yeah, I will say, for those of you who are debating whether or not you want to read them yet, it will give you a sense of what has passed in the interim between the end of book 3, Heat, and where we begin, because there's a lot of time passes between the end of Heat and the beginning of Burn. And so the first 3 chapters kind of explain what happened in the interim and where we are and what some of our characters are up to now.
I always say this about any of the book series that leaves us on a cliffhanger. I just hope the couple is fine. Like, that's all I want. I just want the romance to thrive. Everything else can burn. I don't mind. I just want the 2 of them to be happy, living in an orchard, planting apples.
I can tell you they're not there in those chapters. That's definitely not happening in those chapters. Yeah.
Are there goats in Burn?
I
hope there is at least
comment.
1 goat.
Luther wants them.
Comment. You'll just have to read and see.
I hope there are goats. I need to make like the memes with the goat, and
I know. I would love to see an alternate universe where Luther was just his sweet little goat herder self, in a little cottage and had no responsibility except his little goats. Perrin Jr.
Yes. And a donkey. Amen.
Of course. Yes, of course.
And apples. They will plant their food.
Very important.
No problems. Their DM will cook. I don't know if she cooks, but if she does, they'll just have like a nice cottage family. But I don't feel like this is your vibe, because
it would be nice, but the gods don't seem to want to let them relax. So blame it on them, not me. I'm innocent.
By the flame.
You were not innocent. I suffered. Yesterday, I was like, what? And even my husband was looking at me, and he was like, is the book that good? Because it's been such a long time since I've had those reactions. And I was like, you don't even get me started. And then I started to tell him all about the plot and like to explain, and he's like, okay, he doesn't understand anything. But I was just like, I have to talk to someone.
Yeah.
It was too much.
It's a lot. It's a stressful book. I'm not gonna lie. When I first
All
released,
three.
yeah, kind
They're
of all three.
stressful.
When I first released book 3 in English, I had a little, banner that kind of describes the book, or it had all 3 books, and it had little descriptions for each book. And under book 3, it just said stress, like underlined twice. And that's kind of that's book 3. It's a lot of stress for about 1,000 pages.
Yes, I was talking to the girls, and I was like, it's chaos everywhere.
Yeah.
There's no time to breathe. And then one of our friends from the book club, she was like, I found this on Penn's Instagram account, and it says which chapters are good for a breather. Yeah. So we kind of based ourselves on that, like, when will I be able to breathe? Oh, she said that it's on that chapter.
Yeah. Heat is divided into 3 sections. So there's part 1, part 2, and then part 3. Part 1 and part 2 do not really end on a cliffhanger. They have nice kind of okay endings where you can pause. So if you haven't read book 3 and you are going to, and you want to break it up a bit, I would say that's a good way to break it up, because it's not that it's over in those sections, but you at least can set it aside and like take a beat if you need to.
Or maybe finish at chapter 72.
Or you could just stop there.
Read up to chapter 72 and then wait for book 4.
I knew there was something bad coming. I knew it.
I know what you're talking about.
And we're so happy. And I was like, no, this is going to end.
I love the end. I don't know what you're talking about.
I knew
thought it was so fun.
It was so beautiful. And I was very happy because I've waited 3 books. And then at 95% of book 3, we got a spicy scene of Luther, which is like my favorite character. And I was like, when is it coming? And then on 90%, it came. And I was like, okay, this is beautiful. This is amazing. But I know her. There's something big coming.
In fantasy, you can't ever trust a happy moment. You really can't. From any author. If everything's happy and wonderful and safe, something bad's coming. Something real bad.
It's a bad omen. Every time a happy moment comes, it's a bad omen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the way in fantasy.
I have questions from the girls from the book club. I try to look through and remove spoilers because I want this video to be able to reach more people in Brazil. Some of the questions had a little bit of spoilers, but they're going to be minor. They're not going to reveal the plot. It's just about feelings.
Okay.
I mean, I think we've already talked about feelings, but we're not going to give away the story. So I'll start with the first one. How long did it take to write book 1? Oh, you already told us that.
Yeah.
Well, so actually, here's an interesting tidbit. I wrote book 2 first, at least the first draft, because in my head, if I'm avoiding spoilers, but if you've read book 1, you know what happens at the end of book 1. There's like a big thing that happens at the end of book 1 to DM. And to describe it vaguely, it's something that really takes her out of the world that she's known and forces her into a very different environment and really pulls her, she grew up in a bubble, kind of. Her parents protected her from a lot of things and kept her away from the worst parts of the world. And this thing that happens basically forces DM to expose herself to things that she hasn't in the past. And that, I think my whole life I'd read fantasy, and that happens quite a bit, right? A fish out of water story where the main character, something happens, an attack, or they suddenly get magic, or somebody comes and plucks them out of their little village, and they're whisked off to some other world or some, big city or magical land. And that is really the beginning of their story. And so that is how I started writing this series. So the thing that happens to DM at the end of book 1 was like the first scene in the story. And then her story really began after that. And so I wrote what is now the first probably 60% of Glow. And that was the beginning of the series. And as I was writing it, I just felt like something was wrong. Like the story is missing something. I realized that the mortals and, their struggle is so critical to her, just who she is and her motivations and why she does everything that she does, especially in book 2. And we needed to see that to understand her. We needed to see the mortals that she grew up with, see the village that she lived in, understand the oppression that they live under, like see her begin to interact with the descended and how she feels about them and her perceptions about them, in order for everything she does in book 2 to make any sense at all. Because otherwise, if you're reading and you're like, I would love this, I don't know what you're talking about. But she is, really struggling with it, and we needed to see why. So I said, I need to go back. I set that aside and I started writing what is now Spark. I wrote that book 1, in about a month. It came out really, really fast because that felt so, I don't know, I just instinctively knew it. I'd spent so much time thinking about who DM is and what makes her who she is, that all of that just came really easily. So I wrote book 1 super fast. And then when I went back to book 2, I had to rewrite everything that I'd written because, little things had changed. And so that book took me about 2-ish months to write. And then I got to Heat and everything changed. That book took me about 8 months to write because it's a lot longer, but also is so much more complex because we're going to the other realms. We're meeting a lot more characters. There's a lot of different plot lines that had to be addressed and woven together. And now I've been working on book 4 for 2 years. So it's been a very different experience writing book 4 than book 1. Writing Burn, I have to go back and reference the previous books almost every day because there are little details I have to make sure I get right, or, there's so many puzzle pieces that we're fitting together and I have to make sure it's all very consistent. But also I tried really hard to make not every character, but the vast majority of the characters, if they have a name, they have an arc. They have their own sort of story to tell. And it may be minor, but still, they have a struggle, something they want, but they can't get. This is the book where every character is getting that moment, And so it's a lot of different moving pieces. And I have to think really hard because sometimes this is the end of that character's journey. And I want to make sure each character really gets a fitting end, whatever it is. And so that just requires a lot of thinking and writing and rewriting and all of that.
But book 4 is done, right?
Not done. Not done. No,
It was done.
It's very close, very, very, very close. But I'm still working on it. It was supposed to be done, but it is not. It's very close. I'm at the end of the book, but I want to take my time with it because it is the final book and this is the end of these character stories. So I'm forcing myself to not rush through it, even though I know everybody wants me to.
Take your time. Take your time. We will wait.
Bring us a happy ending. We'll wait.
Yeah. We'll see.
God, Ted. All right. Talking now a little bit about the magic system. What were your inspirations for the entire Saga Magic?
The magic system is interesting because it's really tied into the culture of each realm. So I'm not sure which came first, the magic or the culture. It was a little bit of both together. But if you look at each realm individually, the magic that they have is reflective of who they are and their values and, how the world sees them. So if we take Montios, for example, they're very reclusive. They are very closed off. They don't show a lot of strong emotions. You might describe them as cold and sort of stony, right? And they control ice and, stone. And if you go to the opposite end, Igneos, they control fire and, sand, and they're very hot-headed and they're very sort of like very emotional, and passionate. And it's kind of that way in each realm. Who they are and what they can do with their magic are very interwoven together. So I had a really fun time saying, number one, what does this realm look like? Number two, what kind of magic they have? And number three, what are these people like and what's their history and their cultural values? And all three of those things are really woven together. It wasn't really just plucking magic out of thin air. It was sort of saying what fits in each of these realms.
It worked perfectly.
It did.
And it really did. Don't even get me started on Igneous. We're
we could
having trouble.
I have a lot to say that I can't say, but I'll say that we'll see a lot more of the Igneous people in book 4. A lot
I just
more.
want to see.
Well, the people, it's okay. The
We'll
people.
see a lot from him.
I don't
too.
want to see him.
Just Tibble. Just him.
You'll see Tibble too. There's a lot more to learn about that realm.
About him. That's a question that was not planned. Did you take an inspiration from the name out of Romeo and Juliet or no?
Yeah, that's exactly where it comes from. Yeah, I had that in my mind of these like star-crossed lovers. And so I kind of wanted to give a little hat tip to that book, but I didn't want to be obvious and say Romeo. And I've always loved the name Tybalt. So I said, okay, well, let's change it slightly. Yes. And that'll be my tiny little homage to that story.
Oh, because I teach Romeo and Juliet to kids because I'm a teacher. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Let's hope their story ends a little bit happier.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I hope so. She deserves it.
We'll
him
see.
too.
Sweet Sarai, yeah.
Yes, I'm a big pet person.
Uh-huh.
So when anything happens to animals, I get way more emotional than it's.
Oh yeah. If the second I'm reading a book and an animal shows up, I immediately have to Google, like, does the dog die? What am I getting myself into? So I get it for the people out there that are stressing. I get it.
Yeah, that's good that you get it because that means you will think about it on book 4. You're not going to eliminate any of our pets.
Save those babies.
No comment.
Oh my God.
Could you give us a tiny spoiler of what's coming next? Other than emotional damage, I know we can expect emotional damage, but can you give us a tiny anything?
There's so much. There's, what can I say? I'm trying so hard not to give anything away. You'll see a lot more of the side characters. We will learn a lot more about them and see them. I mean, they have to step up now because for reasons I can't say because of spoilers, everybody really has to step up. And in order for them to win this war, also the war itself really kind of changes character because now we don't have 2 sides, we have 3 sides. We have the mortals who are fighting for their own liberation. We have the crowns and the descended who are kind of fighting on 2 sides now because they're fighting Ophiuchi in the north and they're fighting the guardians in the south. And then we have Ophiuchi and we have Vance and his group. So we have these 3 different factions that are all fighting, and you can't really have a 3-sided war. So somebody is going to have to ally with somebody. And we will see where that goes.
Another question that I had was about that. I don't know if you can say, but what POVs can we expect in the 4th book? Is that something you could share?
I want to leave some of them secret because I want some of them to be a surprise when you get to them. But we spend about half of the book in Luther's POV.
Oh,
you'll get a lot from him. And then we have several of the side characters. There's a moment in particular where we're in Henry's POV that is going to be a really interesting chapter. And the others I don't want to give away. I think the others I want to keep secret.
Will we be able to like Henry a little bit more?
I don't know why you wouldn't like him now. He's my perfect angel.
Like how?
I love him.
We know because he's still alive. He's still there.
Still breathing.
He's my baby.
You have to love him. because he's still breathing.
I do. He's my perfect angel.
Oh, dear God.
He's done nothing wrong ever. No, Henry is my wayward sheep. He's lost his way a bit. We can acknowledge this. He has Henry is, I could talk about him for hours. He's, I think, one of the more interesting characters in the story, especially if you can kind of separate yourself from him as a love interest and just think about his relationship as a friend with Diem and his relationship to the Bellators, each of them individually and as a family, his place in the war. And he, for me, is really the voice of the mortals. When he speaks, he's kind of summarizing how the mortals feel about the situation that they're in. And he's very justifiably angry. He's very driven right now by anger and resentment, and for good reason. I have a lot of sympathy for him and for all of the mortals and the situation that they're in, and the horrors that they have had to face and the injustice they live under. And I'm rooting for them to overcome that and find their way out on the other side. Henry's journey is really that path of, do we lean into the violence and the hatred and the darkness, or can we still fight for our freedom and hold on to our souls and our values in the process? And it would be nice if there was an easy answer. It'd be great if you could say, yeah, of course you can. But Henry's a pragmatist, and he says that's just not the reality of war. He also is I would say his biggest flaw is that he's very easily peer pressured. So whoever is in front of him, preaching to him at any given moment, he's like, yeah, you've got some good ideas there. And so he has really gotten wrapped up in certain people that maybe don't have the best intentions. And on the other side, he's got Diem saying, no, don't do that. Like, stay over here on the side of the good. And he is kind of wobbling, going back and forth on that path. And so I think in book 4, we will see which side he chooses. I'm rooting for him. I want him to get what he wants, because I think what he wants is a world where, people are happy and at peace.
I guess that eliminates the next question, though, because the next one is, you say you're Henry's first fan. Is that a marketing strategy, or could it be because he has no other fan? So he
has a few. There's a couple of us. Okay.
I think I might be inclined to like Henry now. You have a good...
I really think on a reread, you can appreciate him more the second time you read, because the first time you're like, who's she going to end up with? Like, he's kind of the foil to Luther. I think most people are on one side of that that battle.
No way.
Let's just say.
How can we?
I don't think there's a lot of people who really wanted her to go that direction as opposed to Luther's direction. But as the story progresses, and as you sort of get a bit of a resolution to how that, goes, I think on a reread, you can appreciate his character a little bit more, because you can hear what he's saying besides just come marry me, come be with me. There's other things that he says that are really important and worth, debating and mulling over. And I think a lot of people, I guess every character is open to interpretation, right? It's what my purpose is for the characters is not always what the readers take, and that's okay. That's the beauty of literature.
Except for Vance. I don't think there's redemption there.
Well, Vance has a tragic backstory that you will learn, and that there is a big question that comes up in book 4 is, are monsters born or are monsters made? And how are they made, and who's at fault for that? When we think about somebody like Ophiuchi, who's obviously doing some awful things, and yet his whole life has been awful things done to him, does that justify what he's doing? I think most of us would say no. But it also, we can kind of understand why he's so angry and why he wants revenge. So it's a tough situation, because it's really easy to villainize someone if you don't know their motivations and the trauma and their backstory. And once you do, it's harder to just dismiss somebody as evil, because very few people are just pure evil. Most people get there through a lot of things happening to them. So it's a complicated situation.
I bet.
So after the ending of book 3, can we expect a vengeful DM on book 4? Or can we expect her at all?
I mean, I don't want to spoil it for the people who have not read book 3, but I would say if you've read book 3, I just don't want to.
She's very resilient,
but
she takes a lot and takes on revenge. So
yeah, it is. I'm trying so hard not to give it away. If you've read the end of book 3, I would say having a lot of expectations for her in book 4 is a choice.
Okay.
I got it. I mean, I guess we have a past of 3 books we can.
Yeah.
That's reasonable to expect. So would you ever consider a screen adaptation, and would you have any actors in mind that you saw? Like you saw an actor, you'll be like, oh, this would be a good Luther, or this will be a good DM.
I would love a screen adaptation for sure. I've always, as I write the books, I see them like a movie play out in front of me, and I feel like I'm just transcribing what I'm seeing. I mean, it's very much for me a visual thing that I see in my head. I have always seen Zendaya as DM. That's just who she appears as in my head, and I think it's because I've seen Zendaya in roles where she's really funny and she has a really dry, quick sense of humor. But I've also seen her do some really heavy, deep, emotional, like raw stuff. And I think that's DM. She has these two sides to her where she is kind of, witty and quick, but also a total mess. Not only does she kind of look how I imagine DM looking, but she also has the same sort of personality and like different aspects to who she is. I have yet to find a perfect Luther. I've been looking, but I haven't really found anyone yet. My reader Discord is a big fan of an actor model named Ken Yaman. I think he's Turkish.
Oh, he is amazing.
Yeah, he's very hot. I really think that's the only thing that they care about. I'm not sure if he can act at all, but
it doesn't matter.
He's very hot. There's there's a photo of him where he's kind of like shirtless and carrying something, and he's got a beard and he just looks sort of rugged. And that was what I envisioned when I was writing the beginning of Burn is that picture of Ken Yaman. I'm like, this is Luther right now. So visually I get that for sure, but I have not really found an actor that I think is perfect yet for him. For Henry, I always imagine is Dylan O'Brien, because I think he's got that like sweet, cute kind of guy, like best friend that you grew up with kind of look to him. And that's how I imagine Henry is. Not necessarily super hot, but also not ugly either. Like he got DM, so he's got to be pretty cute. A nice guy next door look. Taryn, I have a very specific image for, and it's Chris Hemsworth as Thor, but in Thor Love and Thunder, when he's like a mess and he's kind of drunk and sort of just his life is falling apart, that is Taryn. Just when Thor lets himself go, that's kind of Taryn a little bit.
For some reason I pictured him as a teenager. I don't know what happened in my
mind. Are you thinking of Teller?
Oh, Teller.
Yeah.
Teller.
Teller, I imagine, is a young Jordan Fisher. Which is funny because Jordan Fisher is a fan of the series. He's actually read all of the books, which is really fun. But I definitely saw Jordan Fisher's face as I'm writing Teller. So I don't know. We'll see.
Is there a character you regretted writing?
And there is a next part to this question that she left out.
It is not Henry. It is.
The question is like
right?
Is there a character you regretted writing? Why Henry? That was the question one of the book club friends sent.
I think I don't really think I regret anything in what I had the characters do, because I think that was the right choice for the characters. I do sometimes wish that maybe I had not made Henry a potential love interest, because I think that people get so wrapped up in Luther versus Henry that they don't see anything else to Henry. But at the same time, that's who Henry is. Like, he's very enamored by strong women and bold women, and they grew up together. Like, it's, of course they're gonna at some point be like, should we be together? So I think it was right for them to sort of be at this place where they're both exploring whether they're more than friends or not. It's kind of like a hook in her that holds her into this past, who she was growing up. And I think she needed that to kind of ground her a little bit, as so much else is changing in her life.
I feel like she lived in a bubble, being drugged and not being able to experience reality to the fullness. I feel like throughout the books, I have to admit that I forgot about that information. I was just mad at DM for the most of it. And then sometimes I would be reminded, okay, this is what she was used to. She grew up in this bubble and she doesn't know any other reality. So
yeah,
Henry was in it, and that's all she knew. So I was like, okay, I hope he gets a romance arc in the next one with somebody else.
We'll see. He was really a piece of normalcy in a world that was changing a lot for her. And I think, and we see her kind of say that in the book, that she's like clinging to him, because if she loses that, then who is she? Who even is DM Bellator if she doesn't have these people around her and these relationships? We've all been there, where somebody that we grew up with, either a friend or a love interest or something, we're growing apart from them, but they mean so much to us that we're really clinging onto it and we don't want to let it go, even if it's not working and we're just not clicking like we used to. Even though everyone else in our life might be like, babe, it is time to like shut that door and move on, we really have to get there to a place where we feel safe letting it go. And that can take a lot longer than our friends want it to for us.
Which scene impacted you the most at the moment of writing?
It's actually a scene that didn't make it into the book.
What?
Yeah, there was, as you know, scars are a big symbol in the series. And we spend a lot of time talking about scars, both external physical scars and internal scars from trauma that you've been through. What those scars mean to us and keeping them versus hiding them. A big part of DM and Luther's story is Luther has kept his scars. I wouldn't say he's proud of them. It's something that he kept to remind him of what he believes is his purpose. And then DM crashes into his life and she's like, I love scars. Scars are great. Like, I got this one riding a horse and this one I fell out of a tree. And for her, it's really something happy, and it's a storybook of her life and memories of things she's experienced and time she spent with her family. She's only ever seen them as something positive. So there was supposed to be a scene where DM's scars accidentally get healed away, where she's being healed from a wound and it goes too far and it's all of her healed, or her scars are erased. I couldn't write it. I couldn't finish it because it was too sad. Like, it would have broken her, it would have been like erasing the last bits of who she is and taking her identity away from her and this thing that she cherishes so much. It would have broken her in a way I don't think she ever would have quite healed from. And I said, I can't. I've done a lot to her. I've done some pretty awful things to this character. I don't think I can do this. It was a moment where I realized that my view of scars has also really changed through writing the book. I really came to see scars as something beautiful too. And it was a really amazing moment for me that I could see how I, as a human being, grew through the story alongside the characters too.
I'm glad you didn't write it, because I would have been crying.
Yeah.
I didn't cry at the end of 3, but I saved my tears for the 4th.
I'll get you, don't worry.
Oh my God. Starting on a tissue box fund already.
Yes.
If you could steal a character from another author and place them in your universe, who would it be?
Gosh. It would definitely be somebody from Zodiac Academy.
Ooh.
I would say maybe Geraldine. Geraldine is chaos in human form. Can you imagine her and Taryn together? If you've read the series, her and Taryn.
I haven't read it.
Oh my gosh. It's wild. A wild time. I don't even know how to describe this book. I've never laughed harder at a series and I've never cried harder at a series than these two books. The whole ethos of the book is like, fuck it. We're just going to write it. Like everything is crazy all of the time. Every personality trait is turned up to a 10. It's really a good time, but it's also like chaos. This character, Geraldine, she's crazy.
Yeah.
She's
Adding
crazy.
Aaron, oh my God.
She's kind of like the female version of Taryn if Taryn was completely off his rocker.
Oh my God.
Just nuts.
I feel like that would be a good addition.
I really love the comic relief. You know, it can get really dark and emotional. And so having characters that can come in when things are rough and lighten the mood a little bit and make you laugh in the middle of tears. I think it's really important to have that balance in a series.
I haven't read Zodiac, but I could say Gibbsy from Binding 13. I don't know if you've read. He is the fun one. Or Quicksilver, Carry On.
I've heard that's like so high on my TBR to read because I've met Callie a million times. But I can't read anything in my genre while I'm writing in my genre. So but I've heard that he's really funny and I feel like he and Karen would probably have a grand old time together.
If you were to write a spin-off, which character do you think would deserve it the most? Not Harry. I was gonna say Harry.
I will not be writing a spinoff for any of the main characters in the series. I think they all have been through enough. And if they survive to the end of the series, I think they have earned a peaceful, happily ever after.
They survive.
I said I was not going to write a spinoff of this, that it would be over and done. Against my will, my brain is planning a spinoff for a very, very, very small character that you probably, if I said who it was, you'd be like, what? Who? How they are left at the end of the series is really interesting. Following them maybe 20 or 30 years into the future and seeing what has become of this world after Burn ends would be really interesting. You know, in a world where most of the characters are still alive and they're around and we sort of know of them, but they're not the point of the story.
I was hoping Taryn, but okay.
Taryn would be really, I had a blast. I wrote a bonus chapter for him for people who pre-ordered Heat, and hopefully we'll get to include it with the Portuguese version. I don't know. It was really fun. It was a bonus chapter of him in Heat, basically his first date with someone. We'll just say that.
Oh my God, yes!
And it was really fun writing in his head. It was kind of crazy to write in his POV.
It's nothing like DM or Luther. It's
no, and
totally
he's
different.
He is unhinged. So I had to say, okay,
I love it.
I need to how do I make myself get in that Taryn headspace?
Well, it's Taryn. Have a drink.
Exactly. I did. I had a drink and I wrote his chapter and it was great.
Can you tell us, well, he said it's not ready yet, but the number of pages that are planned for Burn?
I have no idea what it will be, but I will say the draft is, I always said it would be shorter than Heat, longer than Glow, but as of right now, it is longer than Heat. I still need to go through and trim it down, so it might end up being a little bit shorter, but it's very long.
At least 840 pages, which is the Heat. So it's just we have a ballpark.
It's about 3 times the length of Spark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, a lot can happen. You might have to add more happy moments in there.
Maybe we'll see. Or maybe even sadder ones. I don't know.
No. So was there a scene you wrote and you were like, they're going to lose it here. Like, this is going to
are
make
you kidding
them
me?
Like
Chapter 72. Chapter 71 and 72, honestly. It's funny that we talked about this earlier because I really love writing the happy scenes when I know something awful is coming next. Because it's like, how can I add in tiny bits of foreshadowing into this as they're all having a great time, having so much fun, that everything's about to go terribly, terribly wrong. I won't say what happens. But in Glow, there is a pretty devastating thing that happens. And right before that, there's like this really fun, happy moment.
Yeah.
And I was having to write that really fun, happy moment, knowing what was coming next. And it was gut-wrenching.
There isn't a specific scene. The first book, the Be My King.
Oh,
scene,
yeah.
I was like, I put the book down. And I was like, what?
Like, please don't.
What did I just read? What?
That
I was
is
like, no.
I mean, I knew people would hate that. I knew they would.
Oh no,
but
we did.
What I have found interesting about that scene is how many people think that Henry was just using her, or that he was being really selfish, or he just wanted to sort of take advantage of her to get to the power. And I as the person writing him, it's again open to interpretation for each person. But as the person writing him, I really didn't see that. I saw this as, number one, she's clinging to this thing that she knows and doesn't want to let go of, because letting go of him means letting go of herself. Really feels like she has already let him go. He is sort of like, how could you keep this from me, the secret? And to see her standing there in the situation that he found her, for him, is a huge betrayal. It couldn't be a bigger betrayal for him. And so he's really reeling from this, having to reorient that the woman that he loves and saw himself spending his life with is somebody very different than he imagined. But you also have to understand that, like, they have spent their entire lives looking at the descendants saying, somebody needs to do something about this. Like, our people are suffering. They are killing us. They are oppressing us. They're, people were starving to death and we can't get medicine we need. He's lost his family, his mother, their whole lives have said, I wish we had the power to do something about this. And now she's saying, I have it. Here it is. Let's do this together. And that's everything he's always wanted. That is his dream come true. So he is really struggling with, I can have the woman that I have always been in love with, and we can do this huge thing that is my life's purpose, but also she just betrayed me and she's not who I thought she was. I think he was clinging to that idea of who they had been as children. I think in some ways they were both using each other, but in some ways they both were just trying to hold on to this, shared dream that they once had for so many years.
I think I like him now.
Yay! I feel really bad for him. She was not exactly good to him. Let's be honest.
It's because you planted a seed. Well, we were talking through DMs on Instagram, and I did ask you, like, what number one fan? And you explained of his being, like, him being the mortal part of the book and everything. And that stuck with me. So every time when one of the girls of the club goes like, but oh, Henry, I was like, guys, you got to understand, Penn said that. And I guess through our conversation today, that became a little bit clear, like he was trying to cling to her. He lost his mom to the descendants.
In this fight that they have in you hear him say, like, the descendant have taken every woman I've ever loved away from me. She's standing there like, I'm right here. I'm not dead. But he sees it as them taking her from him.
You guys are good people. I have to go to therapy because I'm still not there.
Good.
I need therapy because I'm like, you have a way when you write a villain, you are good about the villains. The whole book is really good, but like the villains, we really feel like the hate for them, like Remy's, Vance, and then what Dory's,
Doriel, yeah.
Doriel.
So close, like, and the Hannah Bears.
Oh my God.
They're probably the closest we have to a true villain in the series. I mean, what I think is really interesting about this series, or at least I've tried to do this, is that you have people who do bad things, but it's not clear who the bad guy is, right? Who is our villain? There's not a single easy answer to that, because you have a lot of different forces that are doing bad things. And a lot of them have very justifiable, or at least reasons that sound good on paper. Well, I'm doing this to save my people, to help my family, to protect against this greater evil. You can sort of say, like, well, I don't agree with what you did, but I understand why you did it. And you can say that for a lot of people in the series. But there are a couple people, and it's mostly Hannah Bears, who are just bad people. They're just not nice.
I feel like Remy's. I still haven't seen any good in him, but I mean,
he's an interesting character. He's a big part of book 4. That's all.
He's the regent, so he has to.
He is, yeah. We have only really seen him through Luther's eyes, and they, of course, have a lot of bad blood between the two of them. And so we have really seen Remus described through Luther's interpretation of his father's actions. But there's always two sides to every story, aren't there?
Your characters are not just black and white.
Yeah.
I feel like if I spend enough time understanding them, I will like almost all of them. I don't think Vance can be redeemed. And I was like,
challenge accepted.
No.
No. You can't defend the things that he's done at this point. You at least will learn the backstory of how he got to where he is. There's a line in Burn where it talks about Vance is the natural consequence of a people oppressed. If you mistreat people, if you beat them down, if you kill the people they love, you destroy their hopes and dreams, you turn them into Vances. And so he obviously must be condemned for the things that he's done, but he was made into who he is by other forces, and they also have to be held accountable.
Well,
I like that.
Why Arlie trusted him so much. She did, like, she knew he wasn't like her, but she did trust him.
He was a very warm, fatherly figure when he believed her to be just this rebel girl who wanted to help take down the Descended. She sort of stepped out of that box, and that he became a different person.
I feel like I don't even like Arlie.
Arlie is another character where
I'm like,
you'll see a lot more of her. I know everybody has a lot of complaints. She's not winning Mother of the Year. Okay, we know this. But think about every single thing she has done. It was to protect her family. She will not apologize really for what she's done because she genuinely believes that everything she did at the time was the right decision. Especially, if we think about her history with Luther, like it's very contentious, and Luther was threatening her left and right and saying, if you tell my secret, I'll, kill your family and all of this. So she sees him as a very scary, dangerous figure. And now all of a sudden he's groping her daughter and, kissing up on the same daughter that he had previously threatened.
I have a question, but it's like, it doesn't matter to the story. There is a scene, a very awkward scene, and it was like cringy.
I think I know what you're going to say, but keep going.
And they're at the forest.
Yeah.
And then Luther and I just want to know, did she see it or not?
It was very dark. There was a lot of shadows.
Okay.
I think she got the clue what was happening. Probably didn't see anything.
But she didn't see it.
I had to write that, okay? You had to feel the cringe of reading it. I had to write it. And I was having the worst secondhand embarrassment for everyone involved. It was awful. Absolutely.
Because I was
awful.
like, does she have that image in her mind now? Like, is that something? I mean, no.
I don't think so. It was dark and shadowy. Well, I think
that's good. I will take that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
At the end of this book, all we could think about was like, this book destroyed me. So we created a couple of memes that we sent, and there is one I wanted to show you. It's the cover in Portuguese, and I don't know if I can explain it. It's a language joke because the word to flame is very similar to the word for annoying. So, Spark of the Ever Flame, it came to Brazil as the awakening of the Ever Flame.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way we edit it, it says the awakening of the ever annoying. I'm not being good at this. It's just like a joke in our language.
I get it. No, I follow.
It's just one letter.
Yeah, you just change a letter.
You switch one letter and then it becomes annoying. So we just thought that was a good description for the first book. The awakening of the forever annoying, which is DM. We love DM, but
sometimes it can be annoying.
Yeah, we went through a lot with her. But now I'm holding her hand.
She's on a growth trajectory.
Yes.
If she survives.
How do you say that? If she survives.
Oh God.
That's all I can think about. I'm on a reading hangover. I can't pick up anything else after your book. So I have to breathe and
turn to page 1 and just start again. Start the reread. I will say this. If you reread just chapter 1 of Spark, there are so many hints and clues that now that you've finished Heat, there's still some of it you don't yet know. But there's I would say most of it, if you read chapter 1 again, you're going to be like,
before I started, before I started Heat, I started listening to the audiobook for book 1. I was like, I'm going to try to start it all over. And the first chapter came in, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
because that old lady that later
yes,
on her screen,
We know who she is.
yeah.
She says that sentence, and I was like, oh my God, they're going to release it.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I was like, guys, it's not going to work fine. Things are not going to be fine.
Yeah, that there's a lot in that whole scene. And at the end of it too, how do I say this carefully? The very end of chapter 1, she mentions seeing something on the sea. And now that we know what we know, you might have a sense of who and what that was.
Oh yeah.
We're so lucky to have that time with you. I feel like after reading a book and being able to talk to the mother of the book, the creator of the story, it's such a special experience. I feel like I'm talking to somebody who knows Luther, DM.
They feel real to me. They feel like real people to me too.
And it feels like you know them personally, and it's just like we're closer to them, and this is very, very special. So I want to thank you for taking the time, for always answering. I know a lot of the girls in the book club, they're like, Penn is so nice, she always answers to our DM, and I know it takes effort to do that, and I know this is a lot of caring for your fans. So this says a lot about you. I just want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank you, Clara, too, because she believed in this. I was like, she's not gonna answer, she's not gonna come, and she was like, no, she will come. I will ask her to, and I was
she's gonna answer.
Now I'm here. I'm also really hoping I can get out to Brazil. Fingers crossed. Hopefully after book 4 is out, I think we'll try and make something happen. We'll see.
So we have now every year, which is the book event, the biggest in Latin America. You could be here next year.
I would love to come. I tell my publisher all the time, I would love to.
Oh my God,
it is an amazing event. I have to say, I've been to events here in the US, but I haven't seen anything like it yet. Maybe a Polycon has a similar
We kind of have like genre specific events, but not one that's like a really big, huge
convention
thing. Yeah.
Maybe Comic-Con, but it's not just about books.
It's like Comic-Con just about books.
It's like the Lollapalooza of the girlies. So
oh my gosh, I'd
it
love
would be amazing.
It'd be so fun. We'll have to make it happen.
All
Spiral on your theories. Prepare yourself for book 4.
Thanks a lot, Penn. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I was so happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.